Hey folks, I'm Phable. This is the headphone from HED, and yes, you can mix on this beautiful machine. If you have followed me around, you know that I'm a huge HED fan. I had the Type 5 speakers in my living room before, but I had to make a decision and also add a high quality headphone to my arsenal. Many of you would probably like to ask me now what the reasons are for adding a headphone to my toolset. Well, there are many reasons. First of all, I had to change the HED Type 5 because they were too bass heavy in my living room. I live in an apartment, I'm surrounded by neighbors, so I wanted to live in peace here. I had to change that. And now I have the Neumann KH120A with me here in my living room. They are not too bass heavy, but they also have a very nice mid-range and also very detailed high-end. I know these speakers quite well. I have them for 8 years now. I took them from my bigger studio here in my living room, so I'm very happy with that and I don't disturb my neighbors. The second reason is I wanted to work night shifts. It's COVID-19, everyone has to do home stuff. I wanted to be very independent from my working hours, but I also wanted to have something very high quality and something that I could trust. And probably the last reason is that I don't trust my environment here. This room is not treated. It's still in a changeover. I'm still trying to figure out how to live here. And the room is not good. Here are echoes, early reflections. I can't trust this room when it comes to really, really important mixing jobs. Many of you will say, hey, you shouldn't mix solely on headphones. And yes, there is some truth to that. The reason is crosstalk. And by that I mean, even though you have two ears, both ears will hear the information from both speakers. So imagine you're in a room and you sit in front of the speakers. Your left ear will still hear what the right speaker and the left speaker will put out. So there is some kind of crosstalk between those speakers in your room. But this is something that is not happening per se with headphones. I would say per se, because right now headphone amps get more and more intelligent, I would say. So there is something that is called crossfeed, and crossfeed emulates this crosstalk between the speakers on your headphones. I, for example, use the HEDI2 Pro, and you have a crossfeed setting in this converter. So I use that sometimes. Let's get to the technical stuff. The headphone is an open headphone that sits over your ears, and it has the so-called air motion transformer technology. Many of you guys will know this technology from Adam, and it's no wonder the original founder of Adam, Klaus Heinz, is also the chief engineer for HED. So it's the same technology but evolved. What's so special about the headphone is the air motion transformer technology is put for the first time into a full range design, meaning the AMT tweeter here will go from 10 Hertz to 40 kilohertz. So it's a full range design, and on paper, the AMT design will give you a better impulse response and better clarity because you can move the air much faster than on traditional electrostatic or voice coil systems. Okay, all the technical stuff aside, let's talk about what it is like to use these on a daily basis. I've read so many comments about the weight, and many people said they are too heavy for normal listening situations, and I would have to disagree. I've mixed on these 5-6 hours straight and I never had issues. I can put these on. They look a bit silly on my big head, but you can watch for yourself. Okay, I find them really comfortable and they're not heavy for me. Okay, I'm a bigger guy, Don't want to say that I'm tough, but I'm a little bit bigger. I don't have any issues with these headphones. They sit comfortably over my ears. I have quite big ears and I really enjoy the comfort that they give me. Apart from that, they are very open. They don't sweat. I don't sweat under these. The air that moves through the tweeter is really pleasing to my ears. I don't sweat on these. I had many headphones before and I was constantly sweating, and it's interesting how they interact with your body, because they are so open that when you have people around you, they can listen to the music that you're making. So this is something you should take into consideration if you would like to do voiceover or vocal recordings with these. I would say they are a bit too open for that. But apart from that, they are just so good for your ears because they are so relaxing to wear. It's a pure joy. Okay, I take these off now because I think it looks a bit ridiculous. Let's talk about the sound. These are by far the best headphones that I have ever witnessed, period. The bass response, the impulse response, the clarity is astonishing. I had so much fun listening to these headphones. I went back to my catalog and was listening to one of my most favorite tracks, and I found hum and noise on synth parts that I've never listened before. So even though I have fun listening to them, they are very, very revealing. You hear every detail and I enjoy that. I like this type of sound, and they are just so great for mixing because the bass response is good. I find myself sometimes knocking a bit more dB onto the bass because sometimes they are a bit too linear for me. I like some bass sometimes because I produce electronic music, and then I put up like 2 to 3 dB around 80 Hertz, and then I just get this like pumping feeling for me. But they don't distort, they don't saturate when you crank them up. You find that some of these headphones, they will start to lose some of the high quality when you put down the volume, or if you increase the volume, they will start to pump. To a certain degree, they don't do this. Of course, they start to overdrive at some point, but for me, I like to listen in a very low environment so that I don't hurt my ears. And at this range, they just work perfectly. But even though I crank up the bass sometimes, I really enjoy the overall sound quality of the bass because it's very precise, it's very open, and I can instantly hear what is going on. Especially for me, I produce a lot of electronic music, techno and house, and I need to hear what is going on in the bass area. And what you find with many headphones is that they, even though they have a lot of bass, they are not precise. So the kick transient and the bass itself, they start to smear, and you can't really distinguish what is the portion of the kick drum and what is the portion of the bass. So I would rather use a system that gives me a very clear representation of the bass rather than overhyping the bass and just putting it over too much. Let's go to the another topic, to the high end and to the mids. Again, just the same picture as on the bass. Very detailed. The room information that you have on these it's just ridiculous. I can hear every reverb, every little room that I created in my bus or in my mixing sessions. I just can hear what I'm doing. I had a mixing job 2 weeks ago for a quite huge artist here in Germany, and he came to me and said, listen, the label came to me and they said the bass is weird, we can't put this to the mastering, can you remix the track? So he gave me the track, and it was obvious from the start that he was working in a room, and I know his room. He has these like really huge speakers, and he's just gets blasted away every time that he plays a synth line or a kick drum. It's just too much. So I knew that he was mixing on these speakers in an untreated room, and it was just a weird bass. It was out of phase. It was too much. He had like 5 layers, and some of these layers just didn't match with each other, and it was very weird. And I put on the headphones and I was completely blown away about the spatial recognition. I could hear everything. I could distinguish where the bass was in the stereo field, and I could immediately start working. And the funny thing is, I mixed the track, the artist came to me and said, whoa, 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 now it's way too much bass. Man, you have to put it down. And I was like, no, trust me, you will be satisfied. And the label and the mastering engineer, they were fine. What I want to say is that I'm not the best mixing engineer in the world, but that the headphones are translating really well on other systems. And this is the key. You should never rely on one system. You need one speaker and also a headphone, because on headphones you can hear different things way more detailed than on a huge system, and the other way around. But if you're in a critical situation and you are thinking about whether or not to invest in a huge speaker system in an untreated room where you can't really tell what the actual sound of the system is, or you go for a really nice high quality headphone where you can trust the linearity and the frequency response, with these ones, I would think about it, really. I mixed another track on these and everyone was happy. And that's the key. You will never find the perfect system, but what you can find is a system that you can trust and that you can work on for hours and hours and hours. And this is what the headphone gives me. If you are thinking about it, I would say do that and also invest in a very, very good headphone amp. I have the ADI2 Pro FSR. I don't want to recommend that. There are many other choices out there, but you would need something that gives you maybe a bit more EQing or crossfeed, as we mentioned before. That is really important. Also, you need a headphone amp that is linear across the whole frequency range. This is something many people try to forget, because you find, even though you find loud headphone amps, they will have different impedances across the frequencies. So what you get is not an accurate representation of what is actually going on. So yes, definitely would say get these if you can afford them. They are quite expensive. I love them to death. I just enjoy them so much. I can highly recommend these. If you have any questions about the headphones, about my setup, if you would like to see more, please write them down in the comment section below. I will be happy to do another video about this. This is just like my general review, and if you would like to see something more, of course we can do that. Thanks so much, guys. See you in the next video.